Hello everyone, and welcome back to Driver Career for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in F1 22. So, how are things gonna go here after we had a bit of a disaster last time out in Monaco, slowest in qualifying, and then in the race, the MG UK went kabloomski. Well, we've got the Pirelli Hot Lap Challenge up first, of course, and well, it's not so much a hot lap this time. We're actually doing little mini races for this one, the rival duel. We just have to race our opponent through the final sector of the Baku City Circuit, and yeah, if we can, I think if we can win one, it's bronze. If we can win two of these races, it's silver. If we can win all three, it's gold for the rival duel. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. The first one very easy because we start in front of our opponent. For the next one we'll start side by side, and then the final one we have to start behind them and actually make the overtake on track. Thankfully the AI for these opponent cars, or the opponent car I should say, is terrible. It's I believe probably one of the reserve drivers you can have in my team if you don't sign a Formula 1 or Formula 2 driver. There are a host of other options that are just there in the files of fake drivers, but yeah, I believe it's one of those, and their stats are absolutely terrible compared to even the lowest ranked Formula 2 drivers. So yeah, we are able to beat them in the side-by-side one relatively easily. We did graze the barrier slightly, so we just put a little dent in our very expensive car, but that's fine. We're probably going to do that in the F1 race as well, as we now have to start behind them for this one, and we'll see if we can make the move. Hopefully we can get a good launch and just get this done straight away. We're going to look to the outside. They're going to cover that one off. We'll make the move down the inside, send it in deep into what is turn one of this race. Normally it's the final real corner of the circuit, although this upcoming S section, much more of a significant corner than what it is in even Formula 2. This section's basically flat out. In Formula 1 it's not even corners at all, basically. But anyway, let's bring it to the line, and yeah, we get the job done in the rival duel, and yeah, that should net us a bunch of acclaim, and yeah, that's really about it. It's the only reward for these things, I believe. So yeah, with that done, we can move on to the Grand Prix weekend itself, and yeah, we'll hope for a better time here in Azerbaijan. We'll put a fresh new engine in as well, of course, for this run. We did that at the end of the previous episode. Before we get into qualifying though, I want to backtrack slightly to the practice sessions, because there's something rather strange happened that I don't know if I've ever seen in a practice session before. We're on board with Yuki Tsunoda, and that's Daniel Ricciardo in the barriers at the end of the second sector. The reason it's frozen there is because I've opened the screen capture menu on the PlayStation, and that sort of freezes the game essentially. And yeah, I had to record a clip or two of that, so very strange. And Ricciardo finishes down towards the bottom of the timesheets in that practice session. No tyre in the tyre column, strangely enough, and recorded as a DNF, but has a time behind leader. So Ricciardo did actually set a few laps before crashing, but yeah, the timing screen's displaying things rather strangely. But anyway, we are going to go all in on reliability, durability, I suppose, at this point in the season, because we absolutely need it on the ICE. I pointed it out at the end of the previous episode that we need to work on the ICE durability, and we're going to do just that. We're going to rush that on the car, so then if it fails, we should be in a position to still get it on the car in time for the British Grand Prix. We have some resource points left, so we are going to focus our attention now to the MGUH. We don't really need to upgrade the durability on that, but we might as well, because it's the only upgrade we can afford right now. So we're just going to grab that, and who knows, it might just come in handy if one of our MGUH components fails, and we do need to stretch the others a little further. So we're going to do that, and we're going to go standard development because it's going to come in quicker anyway. hopefully we can use this as a bit of an experiment to see if one fails and the other doesn't, or maybe they'll both probably fail, but who knows. It seems like potentially our upgrade failures have come to an end with an upgrade package coming on for this round, albeit there wasn't really much that could fail because it had all been upgrades that we'd already had to repurchase. But anyway, we skip straight on to the end of Q1. Nothing really interesting there. It's all the same usual suspects eliminated in the first part of qualifying. The two Williams cars knocked out in P19 and 20, locking out the back row. Zhou Guanyu still struggling for form in the early part of the season, and then the two Aston Martins knocked out as well. Sebastian Vettel ahead of Lance Stroll in P16 and 17. Valtteri Bottas only just getting through. He's normally been, contenders for sort of the back of the top 10, but yeah, not the case today. And Bottas down in P15, so could be a tough weekend for the Saubers. I did note that they were lacking straight line speed last time out, so perhaps that is coming back to haunt them here. But anyway, we move on to Q2, and actually one thing I didn't mention about the lap in Q1, I did get a nice tow at the end of the lap, so that is why we were quite quick. But we'll see what we can do in Q2 if we can replicate that. That's why I've positioned myself right behind Daniel Ricciardo, which maybe isn't the wisest choice. He did find the barriers in practice, so let's hope he can keep it clean. And yeah, so long as we can maintain this gap, we should be in for a good time in this session. But I think I started my lap a little bit closer than I would have liked, so I have to sit in behind with a lot of dirty air if I want to stay close enough for a good tow to the finish line. Regardless, we continue to push on, and we didn't get a great run through there as George Russell stays well out of our way on that straight. But on the run to the finish line now, unfortunately we were a bit further back from Ricciardo, so that means the overall lap time wasn't that good. Ricciardo dives out of the way, and we now have no dance partner to tango with on this lap, and yeah, we're not going to be able to improve, unfortunately, as that lap went on. So yeah, we are quite low down in the orders at the moment. Currently, myself and Sonoda are not separated by too much, to be honest, and yeah, both in the drop zone. So as we continue on for our second lap, this is actually the end of our second flyer on a brand new set of tyres, and we don't improve. So we are knocked out in Q2 here in Azerbaijan, and we just didn't seem to have the pace. Very strange. Let's check out the results. We're one position ahead of Sonoda, so yeah, this seems to be either where the car is at, or if you look more closely at the times, we both went slower than either of our laps in Q1. So quite simply, we just did not deliver in that session. We were way off our Q1 lap. To be fair, we didn't have the slipstream on our second flyer there, but Sonoda was marginally slower as well. If either of us could have matched Sonoda's Q1 time, we would have been through ahead of Lando Norris. So yeah, not sure if both of us could have gotten through, but we both could have done better.
A warm welcome to you all at home for today's Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a race that in its short history has already proven no stranger to drama, and where a fourth row start is just about as likely to give you a podium as pole position, with Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez finishing third from there in 2017 and 2018 respectively. The Baku city circuit measures roughly 6 kilometers, and it's made up of 20 corners and 2 DRS zones. The circuit winds around the narrow city, through the old town, and even brushes against the city's medieval walls. However, as beautiful as the setting is, this track is also a ferocious technical challenge, where the smallest of mistakes could lead to a catastrophic consequence for any one of our drivers. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Hamilton, George Russell and Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon, the scientist, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher and Vettel, Stroll, Joe, Alex Albon and Nicholas Latifi. Magnussen, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Rightio then, here we are on the grid ready for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And I feel like going in a different direction with strategy today. If we don't have the pace, we're going to try something a little bit strange. And we're going to start on the hard compound tyres and switch to the mediums. We'll do one less stop than everyone else. It's technically slower, but I just want to give it a go and see what we can make of it. Hopefully we can make the strategy work, and it means I don't have to deal with a very difficult pit entry as many times. 5 red lights are on, and it's lights out, and away we go for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and it's an awful start for us on the hard compound tyres. No traction to put down there as we make our way towards turn 1. We've already dumped a bunch of places, so it has not been an ideal start as we have a look down the inside into turn 2, but no confidence on the steering. And yeah, we are really struggling in the early stages of this one. We are getting absolutely swamped, so yeah, very hard to get these hard tyres up to temperature, and I think that might be part of it. But of course, they're just a slower compound anyway, so it's going to be a very difficult opening stage to this race. I don't think I quite fully appreciated how much slower these tyres were going to be. That was a bit of robust defense there as we drove ourselves all the way out to the wall to make sure that the Alfa Romeo Sauber couldn't go around the outside there. That was Zhou Guanyu that we just chopped the nose off there. But anyway, as we have a little peek down the inside of the Williams, we can't make a move there. And yeah, we are really struggling at the moment. And a big moment at the exit of what is the final real corner. That allows Zhou Guanyu to get through, and another position slips away as we are now at the very back of the field, all the way down into P17. Just 3 cars left behind us at this point, and I feel like that might be less very soon, because it's an angry pack and we're still very much struggling for traction as we go a bit deep into turn 1, and that's going to allow the Williams car there of Nicholas Latifi to get through, and it's now just Kevin Magnussen and Valtteri Bottas behind. We've got contact.
Okay, we've lost a position. That's us down a place.
From the inside there, and I suspect that must have been Valtteri Bottas trying to make the move on Kevin Magnussen. Here's the onboard with the fin down the inside of the Dane, and very deep down the inside of myself as well. A bit of contact just after the apex, and yeah, just got a little bit too deep on the brakes there. But Bottas now down the inside of myself as we head into the next left-hander of turn 3. We'll chop back into line, but no switchback to be made there. But we do maintain position ahead of Kevin Magnussen, who rounds out the field at the moment. But I get the feeling if we can't get these tyres working soon, Kevin Magnussen, grazing the barriers there. Goodness me.
Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
Thankfully no damage to the car. That is a miracle in and of itself. But here comes Kevin Magnussen as
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
And Kevin Magnussen won't need DRS. We've just looped it at the exit of turn 1. We'll get going again relatively quickly, but that's just topped it off, and we tumble to the back. Yeah, these hard tyres were not working for me. I was trying to carry the same speed as everyone else, but they just weren't gripping. I think even now they're still a bit cold, maybe not after spinning them up like that, but yeah, they still feel like they're very cold and just not gripping into the circuits, so they can sometimes need a good few laps to fully get up to working temperature, and I suspect that's what we're going to have to deal with now. But at least now we don't have any pressure from behind, so we can just focus on hitting our marks. We'll take a look at a replay at the start then. It's Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc on the front row. Sergio Perez starting P3 on the soft compound tyres. The other contenders all on the mediums as they work their way through the opening sector. And Charles Leclerc is putting up a decent fight here versus Max Verstappen. The Ferrari driver not willing to let this one go just yet. Of course, it was Verstappen who took pole position, but now down the inside comes Charles Leclerc as they head towards turn 3. And Leclerc might just be able to get this one done as they race up now towards turn 4 in the short chute between those two corners. And Leclerc around the outside, carrying good speed on the exit. And now into this next little tight S sections of turn 5 and 6. Charles Leclerc is through and moves up into the race lead ahead of Max Verstappen. So Ferrari lead in Azerbaijan. We take a look at another lap 1 replay. We're looking at Lance Stroll now with a big dive down the inside of Schumacher and Vettel. The two Aston Martins almost coming together there, but Lance Stroll, a spectacular dive down the inside to potentially take 2 places at once. He's still fighting away with his teammate, but Lance Stroll's going to get that move done. And here comes Schumacher back down the inside, and now fighting away with Stroll is Schumacher. He's already cleared Sebastian Vettel, so it's an aggressive fight between these three. And it looks like Schumacher has won out there ahead of Stroll. So Schumacher and Stroll up 1, Vettel down 2 across the course of that battle. But wow, that was an aggressive fight with big moves from Stroll and Schumacher there. And Vettel just playing it safe and staying out of trouble. As we've caught up to the pack once again after putting a few laps into these tyres. And now we make the move around the outside of Kevin Magnussen. Mark jumping the gun a bit there. And we haven't quite got the move done yet. Heavy defense there from Kevin Magnussen. As we were just looking to the inside, he drove directly in front of us and made sure there was no way we could get there. But now we're going to go for it. Big run along the straight, and we should have the move done here into turn 3. We're very deep though. We almost drew the back of Valtteri Bottas, and that allows Magnussen another switchback as we couldn't turn in. And we had to take avoiding action. We were lucky we could still make the corner there. But we do eventually get that move done. Meanwhile, up the road, as all that was going on, Max Verstappen was chasing down Charles Leclerc after letting that position go in lap 1. The Dutchman wants it back and might just get it here. Around the outside of turn 4 goes Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc won't be wanting to give this one up too easily though, as he's been slipping further and further behind the Dutchman in the championship, as Max Verstappen has been doing very well to take a lot of wins in the recent past, and Max Verstappen takes the lead. So
Yuki is in the pits. Yuki in the pit lane now.
As there'll be some early stoppers in this one, starting on the soft compound tyres. We're going to go much longer on the hards, of course, but we're going to be elevated a few spots because of that. And yeah, we move ourselves all the way up into P13 at the moment.
And you've got P13. Zhu's ahead of you now.
Alrighty. Zhu in front of us apparently, as we make the move around the outside, and relatively straightforward one there to get around the Chinese driver Zhou Guanyu, and we're through, moving ourselves up another couple of positions now into P11.
You've got 11th, that's 11th place. Albon's ahead of you. Our gap to the car in front is 3.3 seconds.
Well, we continue to march on then.
Some information on Perez. They've got some kind of mechanical problem.
Oh, an issue for Sergio Perez. That's a real shame. He had a good strategy for this race, I think. But Sergio Perez now with a mechanical issue. Not sure what it is. Nothing obvious, at least, from the onboard. Still seems up to speed along the main...
Perez has just posted the fastest lap of the race.
Okay, I was going to say still seems up to speed on the main straight, and he's just gone and put in the fastest lap of the race. So clearly nothing too critical for the Mexican driver, who is trying to get the undercut on Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen using the soft tyres at the start. Not able to make any overtakes on them, but yeah, has potentially undercut those two once they finally make their stops in potentially 10 or so laps time. It'll be a while before they come in, I imagine.
Caution, caution.
Oh, caution up in front, and it's Sergio Perez who's slowing, and what a disaster for Sergio Perez. This could have been a great race for the Mexican driver, but now we will never know. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda makes the move around the outside. Nice one there at turn 1. And our teammate's actually looking pretty strong in this race, and he might be in the fight for the back end of the points. Hard to tell where we are at the moment, given we have a very different strategy going on as we let Esteban Ocon go through, the Frenchman with a bit more pace going at the moment. So we're not going to fight that one too hard, as we've also got Yuki Tsunoda catching us as well, but there's Kevin Magnussen in between, as we're really struggling at the end of the castle section there. Just made a complete mess of that. Kevin Magnussen gets through as a direct result of that, and we're going to let Yuki Tsunoda through as well. Not going to hold up our teammate through this section of the circuit. He can go chasing after Kevin Magnussen now, and yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. On board with Kevin Magnussen, and Tsunoda's going to go for the big move down the inside into turn 1. So many late dive bombs today. Seems to be very easy to do here in Azerbaijan with the heavy braking zones. It incentivizes these big bold overtakes, and it looks like Yuki Tsunoda might have made it work, but Kevin Magnussen with the DRS, and at the other end of the straight, K-Mag's got the position back. Tsunoda to the outside, trying to keep the fight going. And Tsunoda will have the inside for the next right-hander. We've got a good view of this battle going side by side, and it looks like it's a drag race on the exit, and Kevin Magnussen might just have the upper hand, as Yuki Tsunoda's still fighting this one wheel to wheel through the first 6 corners of the lap, and Tsunoda slow on the exit of turn 6, and Kevin Magnussen is through. We'll just have to slot in behind now, but great battling those two, but unfortunately
Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
it is all for naught, and Yuki Tsunoda wasn't able to make that move on Kevin Magnussen just yet. So I think Tsunoda's got the pace though. We certainly have the pace over the Hasses we have over the balance of the season so far, so I think we should be okay in that regard. But eventually Kevin Magnussen makes a pit stop anyway. Continuing on then, we...
Yellow flag.
oh dear. Yellow flag up the road, and it's Yuki Tsunoda. He's had an engine failure as well. AlphaTauri, what are you doing? 2 races in a row now. Ourselves last time in Monaco, and Yuki this time in Azerbaijan. Points opportunities going down the drain for Yuki Tsunoda. What a disaster. This cannot continue.
We're approaching the pit window, and you're going to be on mediums.
Oh my goodness. We are up against the odds this season with all the dramas and technical issues and failures going on. But we can only do what we can with the machinery we have, and we're certainly going to try and make the most of the race now. With well, we almost drilled the back of the McLaren car there as Lando Norris goes side by side with Esteban Ocon, the two fighting away. And this sequence of corners really seems to incentivize side-by-side fights all the way through up until they get to the castle section. And Lando Norris still going to keep this fight going all the way into the castle section and up to this right-hander. Lando Norris is going to be later on the brakes. Ocon not willing to give it up, but eventually it gets too narrow for them to run side-by-side, and Ocon has to back out. But wow, that got awfully close to ending up side by side.
Nice move. Keep going.
Into the castle section if that battle lasted one more corner. But I think Ocon was smart enough
Push hard on the inlap.
to lift there. But interesting, we've got 1 lap overcut on Esteban Ocon, so I imagine Ocon will be able to get the undercut on us, but we'll see if there's any kind of traffic for the Frenchman. That could work well for us. But into the pits we come then, and we'll see where we emerge at the other end. But this is our one and only pit stop in this race, and it is of course for medium compound tyres to the end. And yeah, we'll see.
Last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go.
As we struggle slightly on the pit exit, fumbling around to release the pit limiter. Esteban Ocon does come out in front of us, but not by much. So we are in the fight. We are currently in P12, and on fresh tyres we might be able to do something about the Frenchman. We should in theory have a car that is top of the midfield now, as we just about well, we did grace the barrier there as we now make the move on Esteban Ocon.
No need to worry about the tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good. Our gap to the car in front is 6.7 seconds.
And yeah, we get through on Esteban Ocon into turn 1, no damage to the car thankfully, and yeah, we can push on. We've got away with a few scrapes with the barriers so far today. Albon is the next car we catch up to. We make the move around the outside, and that puts us up into the top 10.
Nice move, good job.
So we're back in the points in this race, or in the points I should say. It was sort of hard to know where we were, but this is legitimate now.
Magnussen's ahead of you. Okay, gap ahead is 2.2 seconds.
And yeah, Kevin Magnussen up next in the Haas. We've got the slipstream, we've got the DRS, and now we've got the move done around the outside towards turn 1. Easily done that time. And we move ahead of Kevin Magnussen up into 9th position. We've got the McLarens up the road next. But let's check this out, because into the pits comes Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc in pits at the same time. And Leclerc was in front in 2nd position, but Hamilton's jumped Leclerc in the pit lane. So speedy work from the Mercedes team, and Ferrari have lost out there. So that's a shame for Charles Leclerc, and he drops into 3rd.
Ricciardo's in the pits.
And Ricciardo into pit lane. So yeah, we'll see where we or where he re-emerges back out onto circuit. And looks like Ricciardo's behind us. So we've jumped the McLarens, and we move ourselves up, or at least one of the McLarens. We'll see where Lando Norris is.
You and the car behind is increasing by a significant amount each lap. Good job.
As we've got Fernando Alonso up the road next. So let's see if we can chase down the Spaniard.
Alonso ahead, and gap to the car in front is 17.2 seconds. Okay, they're on fresh hards. The car ahead has damaged the front wing, but it seems fairly minor.
Oh wow, so Fernando Alonso not only has chosen the hard tyres for a pretty short stint to the end, I would have thought. So yeah, bizarre decision there, and has front wing damage. So Fernando Alonso will be very slow for the rest of the race, as we see George Russell and Carlos Sainz coming out of pit lane, and Russell has jumped Leclerc as well, but only briefly. Leclerc back up the inside, and now they're going to duke it out towards turn 3. Lewis Hamilton is up into 2nd position. George Russell and Charles Leclerc fighting over 3rd. Ferrari led this race at the end of the 1st lap, and now Russell is trying to take them off the podium. Carlos Sainz waiting as well to see if he can get involved in this fight, but Charles Leclerc and George Russell are very much at war here, but Russell is going to get the move done, and Charles Leclerc drops off the podium. So the day goes from bad to worse for Ferrari, and a chance for a top 3 finish slips away, although Russell is still right there. So one mistake and the Ferraris will be back in the game. Back on board with myself then, and we do catch up to Fernando Alonso. So as you can see, we are all over the back of the Alpine, and we should be able to get this move done pretty easily as we head along the main straight.
Tyre condition still looking good.
And yeah, we got close to contact there, but no damage. We push on, we're ahead of Fernando Alonso, and we're able to just charge through on the straight there. And yeah, that puts us up yet another position into P6 now. So yeah, we are best of the rest at this point.
And we're currently sat in 6th.
And with a lot of our main rivals on hards, I'm not really concerned about them catching up. No one has opted to do a short stint on the softs to finish off the race, as we're on board with Fernando Alonso looking rearward to Daniel Ricciardo then. So Ricciardo has some pace over... Oh, we completely missed that corner. And it's fortunate we'd built up a bit of a margin over those behind in the meantime. but we scramble back onto circuit, and we don't lose a position out of that. But hard to really explain what happened there. I knew I was in deep, and I had the feeling I wasn't going to make the corner if I turned right, so I thought I'd check out that escape road, and thankfully it was just barely long enough. But anyway, on board with Daniel Ricciardo down the inside of Fernando Alonso into turn 3, and Alonso locks up into the wall. The Alpine driver is out, and Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris are both through. The McLarens both moving up a position each, but Fernando Alonso has crashed, and the safety car is out here in Azerbaijan. It was only a matter of time before it came unstuck for someone here, but who would have thought that Fernando Alonso would be the one to find the barrier. It all got too tricky for the Spaniard. Front wing damage, hard tyres, a lock-up, and it all led to collision with the barriers. But what that has done is elevated Lance Stroll into the points. Aston Martin haven't scored a point all season long. Is this finally the day the team in green can do it? There's still a long way to go. There's an Aston Martin in the lead at the moment, but it is the safety car, so it doesn't really count. Max Verstappen, the race leader, catches up to said safety car, and the queue begins to form.
Right, let's have you in at the end of this lap, please.
We are going to box for a set of soft compound tyres. There's actually a massive gap
Soft tyres at the next pit stop.
behind me, not to the McLarens, but to Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll, who are quite close together. There's a big gap to them, so we can make a pit stop, maybe just lose out to the McLarens, put some soft tyres on, and be lightning fast towards the end of the race. So that is the plan. Soft tyres will go on, and yeah, hopefully this works out for us. But we're only giving up 2 positions to the McLarens, and you know, if we can gain more than that back, or you know, even just get back past those 2, it will be worthwhile for us. And this is big. We just barely get out in front of Esteban Ocon there, so that was critical that we were able to do that, and that's one less car we'll have to overtake. We're actually in 8th position now. The prediction said we would come out in 9th, so speedy work from the crew to make sure we got out in front of Esteban Ocon.
Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap. Let's make sure those tyres are up to temperature, and remember, there's no overtaking until the timing line. Stay in position until the green flags.
Alrighty, as we take a look at Max Verstappen, the safety car accelerates away from the field, and it's going to be a 2-lap dash to the finish. What can we achieve in just 2 laps? We've got the soft tyres on. Everyone else's tyres will have done a few laps regardless of compound, so we should easily have the most grip in the field. No one else is on softs at the moment, as there's a big void behind us, so not everyone was able to catch up to the safety car train. We are right on the back of Lando Norris, and we hit the loud pedal as the field roars to life once more down towards turn 1. We've almost jumped too early, and we're just going to get Norris at the line there. We hesitated on the throttle to make sure we didn't get that done too early, but we're already through on Lando Norris. That's critical, and now we've just got Daniel Ricciardo in front of us to get back to where we were, and after that, it is all gains. So here we go, up towards turn 3. Can we make the move on Daniel Ricciardo as we look to the outside? And we might be boxing ourselves in here. Ricciardo, a big lunge down the inside of Carlos Sainz. The Aussie turns defense into attack and makes the move on Carlos Sainz. Side by side they go. And the outside of turn 4 has worked well all day, and it might just work for Daniel Ricciardo as he gets through on Carlos Sainz. We have a look to the inside of the Spaniard, but no move to be made there for us, and we slot in behind. So Daniel Ricciardo moves up into the top 5 places now. So it's been an awesome run throughout the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. After crashing in practice, he's got to score some massive points for McLaren. Lando Norris not too far back, of course, but we've already made the move on him. Meanwhile, out in front, Max Verstappen has maintained first place on the restart and is not really under any real threat from the 2 Mercedes cars behind. So all going swimmingly for Max Verstappen as we try to close in on Carlos Sainz and start to think about where we can make this move on the Ferrari and hopefully eventually the McLaren in front. But we haven't actually made an overtake on this lap aside from the one on the restart on Lando Norris. So as we head through the chicane onto the main straight. Well, it's not really a chicane, the S section onto the straight. We didn't get a great run there, and Carlos Sainz is going to be safe enough for the time being. We're close, but not close enough for a big dive into turn 1. So turn 2, turn 3, maybe one of those will be the spot. Let's see, as we are right behind. Now we're going to go for the move down the inside of Carlos Sainz, and we'll move ourselves up into P6 in this race. We are possibly in contention for a top 5. We're close to Daniel Ricciardo still, but the overtaking opportunities in the second half of the lap are few and far between. But we'll see how it goes as we try to just inch ourselves closer and closer. You can see the difference in tyre grip as we ride on board now, and we're thinking about where we can possibly make this move. Good traction out of turn 6. Can we maybe make the move as we head towards the castle section into the right-hander, and we can't quite get it done there.
Okay, we've only got 1 lap of fuel remaining.
No overtaking into the castle section, of course. That's just asking for carbon fibre to fly. So it's all going to be about the final real corner of the circuit in Sector 3. That's going to be our best opportunity. Otherwise, it'll be the run to the line. Meanwhile, Lance Stroll is still holding down the final points paying position in the Aston Martin. And with Sebastian Vettel right in behind, I'd imagine that position is relatively safe for Lance Stroll. Meanwhile, we go back to the fight between myself and Daniel Ricciardo with just a handful of corners to go. We need to close in as much as we can through this very awkward left-hander and try and make the move into what is the final real corner of the circuit, but we're not close enough here, so we're going to have to do it on drive traction and slipstream if we can. And we get such a good exit that we might actually go for it into the S section. Down the inside we go on the brakes to try and get through here, side by side contact 3 occasions through there, and we get through, ping-ponging between Ricciardo and the wall on the exit, but we get away with it. And here it is on replay. We made the move to the inside, wheel-to-wheel contact, front right to rear left with Ricciardo, and then the opposite on the exit, front left to rear right, Ricciardo on myself, which sent us just into a slight graze with the barrier. Here's the onboard with Ricciardo, and I don't think there was that much more either of us could have done there. I think we both did our best to give as much space as we could, but that was always going to be awkward. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen wins and controls the race to perfection. We'll bring home P5.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
I thought we were going to have a little bit more than 2 laps to get a few overtakes done, but we were able to make the most of it, and that pit stop was absolutely worthwhile. But just to cover this one off, Lance Stroll was able to hold on, and the Canadian brings home 1 solitary point for Aston Martin, the first of the season.
And so ends another Azerbaijan Grand Prix. A fascinating race and a well-deserved victory. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
Well, Max Verstappen is becoming an unstoppable force this season with another race victory here in Azerbaijan. Second place goes to Lewis Hamilton with George Russell in third. 2 double podiums in a row for Mercedes.
So let's review the drivers' standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
I have to give it to the scientist. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
Let's move on to the constructors. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today, as they make their way up the standings. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, how do we summarize all of that? I mean, the strategy to go from hards to mediums, I think, was working pretty well for us, actually. You know, spending less time in the pit lane seemed to be quite beneficial. We had really good pace at the end of the hard tyre stint, and then throughout the entire medium stint, we were very quick against, you know, the others who were either on old mediums or fresh hard tyres. Yeah, I'm surprised how popular it was to finish on the hards, and that definitely gave us some opportunities that I don't think we would have had the rest of the field decided to finish on the softs, as I think would have been a much more logical strategy there. But anyway, let's run through the finishing order as we always do. Verstappen ahead of Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc, myself, Ricciardo, ahead of Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Esteban Ocon, and Lance Stroll, scoring Aston Martin's first point of the season. And that's huge, and I'll explain why when we get to the Team's Championship in a moment. But Drivers' Championship-wise, Max Verstappen extends the margin to 58 points over Sergio Perez, who didn't even get a chance today. Lewis Hamilton's third in the standings, just 2 points behind Perez now, so they're getting very close. Then it's Sainz ahead of Leclerc, myself, and George Russell down in P7 after some misfortunes earlier on in the season. In the Team's Championship, Red Bull are 110 points clear of Mercedes, who are up into second place after that race. Ferrari down to third, just 1 point behind Mercedes. So, yeah, that shows the impact that George Russell's misfortunes earlier in the season have had on the Mercedes team, only just recovering to second place, where their pace has been in the recent races. McLaren are a long way back from them. They just have 78 points. We have 69, 9 points behind McLaren. We only lost 1 point to them today, so I'd consider that an absolute win. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the standings is Williams with 0 points. Aston Martin and Haas both have 1 point each. That is why that point is so important for Aston Martin, because there are so few points available to the bottom few teams, so that 1 point could be critical by the end of the season. Even Alfa Romeo only have 5, and they are 4th last in 7th position. Alpine are next in front with 55 points, not terribly far behind us, 14 points back from ourselves at AlphaTauri. So, yeah, points hard to come by for those at the bottom of the standings. Anyway, back to HQ, and we have
not an easy choice, I know.
To choose a new rival, and we have to choose between Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. They've been scoring podiums as of late. I know we got P5 in Azerbaijan, but that was just a bit of good strategy at the end. Otherwise, I mean, we would have been P6, I suppose, but I don't know. I mean, is any going to be particularly easier than the other? I mean, Hamilton has led Russell home on both occasions, I think. So I think we're going to go with Russell, but I mean, how are we going to beat either of these two in a rivalry? I struggle to see how that's going to happen. If you look on the R&D chart right at the start of the video, we're 4th fastest, but we're not close to Mercedes are 3rd fastest, actually behind Ferrari, funnily enough, but they seem to have better race pace. But we're not close to the top 3. We're just barely at the top of the midfield, so we're not in this fight at all with these two. I mean, technically we don't have to choose. We can just not have a rivalry going, but that's boring. Let's go with George Russell.
Thanks for dealing with that. The department's appreciated.
We're going to be up against it in this one, but we'll see. Maybe if Russell has a DNF in one of the sessions and we have a good run, we might have an opportunity to beat Russell in the rivalry, but who knows? We'll need Mercedes to have a decline in performance for that to happen. Anyway, let's see what we can do in terms of R&D between now and the Canadian Grand Prix. We've got a chassis upgrade on the car, which is very nice, and that unlocks a few more. So unfortunately we can't afford anything at the moment, so I don't think there's going to be anything we can really do in terms of R&D right now. But yeah, always good to know that there's more. You know, we're not completely blocked in like in the aero department. We're actually getting to the maximum of what that facility has to offer at the moment, I think. So yeah, until we get more facility upgrades, we might actually be blocked in the aero department. Always still looking, you know, keeping reliability in the back of our minds as well, but I think we've purchased enough upgrades now that that shouldn't be a concern. So yeah, we just have to go through the timeline and see what happens as we roll through onto Canada.
I know we were expecting some new developments to come through, but some of them have failed quality control. We'll need to tell the team what to redevelop via the R&D screen.
So it looks like our ERS upgrade failed, which is not ideal. That would have been nice to have here for a little bit of extra power more often on the straights, but regardless, that should be on the car then in time for the British Grand Prix. That was an upgrade we couldn't rush, so just you know, of note. We also got the gearbox reliability testing upgrade on the car. That one was successful. But yeah, that is, I think, just about going to do it for this one. So other than that, I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful. Other than that, I will see you in the next one in Canada. Goodbye.